If you like American history, please subscribe to our channel and ring that bell so you can be notified when we put up a new video. It was only a few decades ago that many killers got away with murder. Why? Because back then there was nowhere in the U.S. where police could be educated as homicide detectives. Police officers were simply not trained to observe active crime scenes for forensic evidence. But all that changed with a grandmother from New Hampshire named Frances Glessner Lee. By the force of her personality and substantial wealth, she pioneered the establishment of legal medicine known today as forensic science. And to train those homicide detectives, Frances Lee created the Nutshell Studies, incredibly detailed dollhouse dioramas of death. I'm your host, Bruce Whitman, and you're watching Mark in History. Here is the historical marker for Frances Glessner Lee, the mother of modern forensics. Her marker is located here near Bethlehem, New Hampshire in Grafton County at her family's summer estate. Frances Glessner Lee was a self-taught American criminal scientist. She was influential in developing the science of forensic investigations in the United States. Back in the early 1940s, this grandmother created the Nutshell Studies of Unexplained Death, true crime scene dioramas recreated in minute detail at dollhouse scale and used to train homicide investigators. Now, let's learn more about the person behind the marker. Frances Glessner was born on March 25, 1878 in Chicago, Illinois, to parents John Jacob and Frances Macbeth Glessner. Her father was an industrialist who became very wealthy from his work with International Harvester. By the time John Glessner was 40 years old, he was a millionaire and among the wealthiest men in Chicago. Both Frances and her brother George were homeschooled in the classics. The Glessners were a Harvard family. In 1890, son George went to Harvard to study law. Frances wanted to attend Harvard like her brother, but it was not to be because Harvard Medical School did not accept women as students at the time. And it would be decades later before the university would become an important part of her life. In 1898, 1 month before her 20th birthday, Frances Glessner married Blewett Lee, a lawyer who was 10 years older than her. Within a month of their wedding, Frances became pregnant with their first child. It was after their third child was born that Blewett Lee moved out and later the two divorced. Divorce must have been very bitter because Frances destroyed all their photos together. Frances kept her last name and raised her 3 children alone. It was not until later in her life, after marriage, divorce, and raising those 3 children, that Lee was free to pursue her long-held interest in legal medicine. Frances's father and mother loved classical music and supported the Chicago Symphony Orchestra with their financial support and close relationships. Many times, the entire orchestra performed privately at the Glessner mansion for the family. Mrs. Glessner once expressed her whimsical wish to have the entire orchestra at her home every day. 34-year-old Frances wanted to make her mother's wish come true, so she undertook an incredible project to create the entire Chicago Symphony Orchestra in miniature as a birthday gift for her mother. All 90 musicians in formal performance clothing with their instruments. The result was an incredible exercise in detail. Frances bought 90 identical dollhouse chairs and acquired a complete set of miniature musical instruments. Each musician was personalized by Frances in every detail down to the facial hair and eyebrows, and each musician had the correct score for his instrument sitting on his music stand. The tiny orchestra was presented to Mrs. Glessner on her 65th birthday. The finished creation was a tremendous success. Little did anyone in the family know that several decades later, Frances would create an entirely different kind of miniatures that would push the scientific investigation of unexpected death. In 1929, fate would bring together 51-year-old Frances Glessner Lee and her brother's close Harvard friend, Dr. George Burgess McGrath, during an extended hospital stay for both at the Phillips House in Boston. This chance meeting would become a pivotal episode in her life and lead to the work that stands as her legacy. During their lengthy recuperation, McGrath and Lee would spend endless hours visiting and talking. McGrath was a medical examiner for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. His vigorous methods of medical science in the investigation of suspicious deaths and his high-profile cases added to his prestige as a Sherlockian crime doctor. Lee found McGrath's work to be fascinating. His stories covered weighty matters like life and death, crime and justice. With each story, Lee gained a deeper appreciation for McGrath's pursuit of the truth to clear the innocent and convict the guilty. After McGrath completed his recovery, he went back to Harvard as an instructor at Harvard Medical School. As one of the few medical examiners in the country, McGrath was interested in creating a new department at Harvard, legal medicine, which is the application of medicine to matters of law and justice. Frances Lee saw this as an opportunity to help her friend. In March 1931, Lee approached Lawrence Lowell, president of Harvard University, with a proposal to commemorate the 25th anniversary of McGrath as medical examiner with a special project. Lee, who was independently wealthy, wanted to donate money to the university to help Dr. McGrath create the first legal medicine department in the country. It would be a new field of medical practice. School graduates would become forensic scientists and medical examiners. Her financial gift included a key condition, that she serve as McGrath's teaching assistant. By the way, the university president said yes. In the first year of operation, the Department of Legal Medicine performed 56 autopsies, resulting in complete change of criminal status in 13 cases. 9 suspected homicide cases were redefined as death by accident, suicide, or by natural causes. In 4 cases, homicides would have gone undetected were it not for post-mortem examination. Frances's dear friend, Dr. George McGrath, died on December 11, 1938, leaving a vacuum at Harvard Department of Legal Medicine. Ms. Lee was instrumental with installing a properly trained forensic pathologist named Dr. Alan Moritz in 1939. Along with Dr. Moritz, Frances Lee continued her tenure at Harvard as a teacher in legal medicine by conducting homicide seminars. These 1 or 2 day seminars included sessions on weapons and ammunition, death by violence and poisoning, and preserving crime scene evidence. Moritz and Lee saw a real need to educate police officers who were first on a murder scene. The police had to be taught to use their powers of observation before stumbling through a crime scene and disturbing the evidence. The question was, how does one teach how to observe? Out of the blue, Lee remembered her work with the Chicago Symphony Diorama all those years ago. Unlike photos or film, her thought was to create accurate, real crime scene dioramas in 3 dimensions for prolonged study. Starting in the early 1940s, 60-year-old Lee designed, constructed, and completed around 2 or 3 dioramas a year with the help of a carpenter. Frances Lee called them the Nutshell Studies of Unexplained Death, because the purpose of a forensic investigation is to convict the guilty, clear the innocent, and find the truth in a nutshell. These handmade dioramas became training tools in the homicide seminars hosted by Lee at the Harvard University Legal Medicine Department. Young Dorothy Dennison is dead on the floor of the parsonage. There is a knife in her abdomen, and there's a hammer lying not far from her head. Blood has saturated the floor. Let's look at 5 pieces of evidence. 1. The covered chairs and piano. The furniture is covered as if no one lives here? Is there blood on the piano or the stool? It's possible she's attacked from behind while she sat there. 2. The body. She is not lying in a natural position. The bite marks on her body should be photographed and impressions taken. Were the bites pre or post-mortem? 3. The hammer. Is there other latent evidence on the hammer besides human remains? Did the hammer kill her, or was it the knife in her abdomen? 4. The purse and the package. Both are neatly placed on the chair as if she's not in a hurry to set them down. The condition of the hamburger should corroborate the timeline of the witness statements. 5. The mail. The presence of mail further proves that nobody was currently in residence. Who is the mail addressed to? Who should be picking it up? At these seminars, prominent crime scene investigators, state policemen, and FBI special agents were given 90 minutes to study each diorama and then present their findings. Lee was adamant that the dioramas were not simply puzzles to be solved. She said, "These models are not whodunits. They cannot be solved merely by looking at them. They are intended to be an exercise in observing, interpreting, evaluating, and reporting. There is no solution to be determined." The training that police officers received at her seminars made them better prepared and more effective at crime scenes. In recognition of her contribution to the New Hampshire State Police, Colonel Ralph Caswell commissioned Frances Glessner Lee as a captain of the New Hampshire State Police in 1943. She was 66 years old and the first woman in the U.S. to hold such a rank. Ever since, she addressed herself as Captain Lee. Captain Lee continued her mission to instruct the public about the importance for trained medical examiners and homicide detectives by using media at her disposal, that is, books and movies. In October 1948, Erle Stanley Gardner, the best-selling author in America at the time and creator of the Perry Mason novels, used his contacts to wrangle a seat in Captain Lee's classroom seminar. Lee challenged the author, saying that his stories were formula-based and portrayed the police as uneducated fools who were bettered by a defense attorney. Gardner was so impressed with Lee's orderly and logical mind that he dedicated his latest book, The Case of the Dubious Bridegroom, to her. After spending 2 weeks with Lee traveling from state to state to learn about forensic medicine and the role of the medical examiner, Gardner returned to write The Case of the Musical Cow, which featured a state trooper protagonist who uses the police crime lab to clear an innocent suspect and convict the guilty. MGM Studios was interested in producing a film about the untapped topic of medical examiners presented as a fictionalized true story. MGM signed an agreement with Dr. Moritz to develop a motion picture tentatively titled Murder at Harvard. Thanks to university objections, the movie title was changed to Mystery Street and premiered in 1950 to positive reviews. Ricardo Montalban plays a police officer who seeks assistance from the Department of Legal Medicine at Harvard to solve a murder. Using forensic science, the case was solved using identification, ballistics, and photography. At the end, science clears the innocent and convicts the guilty. Mystery Street is known today as the first modern procedural crime drama, leading the way for Quincy M.E. and CSI crime scene investigation. Today, interest in forensic science is at an all-time high. Captain Lee would be proud. Frances Glessner Lee died on January 27, 1962, just short of her 84th birthday. During her lifetime, she was bestowed numerous honors and awards, and she was respected by top criminologists all over the world. 18 nutshells of unexplained death dioramas still exist today and are still used for training police officers to observe and report their findings. The Frances Glessner Lee seminars in homicide investigation are held at the Forensic Medical Center in Baltimore, Maryland. This is the legacy of a grandmother who never went to school, had no letters after her name, and was categorized as a rich woman who didn't have enough to do. If history can be taught with stories, it can never be forgotten. Please like our video, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell to stay informed on the latest videos. And don't forget to leave your comments below and tell us what you like about this video.